The journey of not return. Some people travel, others rediscover the world. Hello. Today, we dive into the story of one of history's greatest travelers. Born in 1304 in Tangier, Morocco, Ibn Battuta. He could have lived an ordinary life, a respected family, a good education, and a secure future. But some people are not meant to stay still. At just 21 years old, he made a decision. He would travel to Mecca for pilgrimage. This was no small journey for that era. A road that would take months. Deserts, bandits, disease, and uncertainty. His family believed he would return, but Ibn Battuta felt something else. This was not merely a pilgrimage. This was the first step into the unknown. On that day, he left his home, and no one knew. He would not return for 30 years. A pilgrimage journey. How did it become the greatest adventure in history? Deserts and the first trial. When Ibn Battuta set out on his journey, he had no army, no guards, and no great fortune. Only a few belongings and immense courage. From the outside, this journey appeared to be a sacred duty. But in reality, it was merciless. The days were scorching, the nights were freezing, and the roads were dangerously unsafe. Bandit attacks, hunger, thirst, and disease. At one point, Ibn Battuta fell gravely ill. He could no longer walk. He believed the journey had come to an end. Perhaps he should return home. Perhaps this road was never meant for him. But some people simply refused to give up. He recovered. He stood up, and he kept moving forward. He saw cities, new faces, new cultures, new worlds. And slowly, he realized something. This journey was no longer just about Mecca. The world had begun to pull him in. But how could this young traveler become the guest of sultans and royal courts? Sultans and royal courts. Ibn Battuta was no longer an ordinary traveler. He drew attention wherever he went. He was knowledgeable and well-educated, gifted with intelligence and eloquence. These qualities opened unexpected doors for him. Local rulers, judges, and sultans. A traveler had suddenly become a guest of royal courts. He was welcomed in palaces, received gifts, and was treated with respect. But this was not merely a privilege, it was also an opportunity. Ibn Battuta was no longer just traveling. He was accepting new roles, forming new connections, and these opportunities would lead him to one of the wealthiest and most dangerous regions of his time, India. But in India, would he find glory or a deadly game? India, power and intrigue. India, the center of wealth, power, and danger. Ibn Battuta did not merely travel here. He took on a role within the Sultan's court. High status, great prestige. But life in the palace was not as it seemed. Power always brings risk. A wrong word, a wrong alliance, or a single misstep could cost him his life. Court intrigues and hidden rivalries. Ibn Battuta suddenly found himself in the midst of a political storm. And in the end, he was forced to flee to survive. But this escape would lead him into an even greater uncertainty. To the seas and disasters. This time the road was not on land, it was at sea. Ships, storms, and the constant risk of sinking. Sea voyages were merciless. Some ships were lost. Some journeys ended in disaster. Ibn Battuta faced death again and again. There were moments when he lost his fortune, and moments when survival itself felt like a miracle. But he did not stop. He continued. Because by now, the journey had become his destiny, and that destiny led him to one of the most distant civilizations in the world, China. But what kind of world was waiting for him there? China, another civilization. When he reached China, Ibn Battuta was astonished. Vast cities, remarkable order, advanced trade, an entirely different world. He was no longer just a traveler. He was an observer, comparing civilizations, studying people, trying to understand the world. But the most difficult journey had yet to begin. The journey home. After 30 years away, can a person return as the same man? The return home. After 30 long years, Ibn Battuta returned to Morocco. But he was no longer a young man, he was a legend. Countless lands, countless cities, countless stories. The world had changed him, and now he had stories to tell. But these stories, how would they become immortal? A world. Put into writing, Ibn Battuta was no longer just a traveler. He had become a memory that preserved what it had seen. After years of wandering, he began to tell his story. The cities, the people, the palaces, the wars, the customs, and his astonishments. In time, these accounts were committed to writing, and a work emerged, the Rila. This was not merely a travel diary, it was a living record of the medieval world. In his work, Ibn Battuta did not describe only the roads. He described people, he described cultures, he described everyday life, how people lived in a city, how power functioned in a palace, how traditions shaped a society. For historians today, this work is almost like a time machine, because he did not simply travel the world, he documented it. But what was it that truly made him a legend? His legacy. He was a witness to an age. He crossed deserts, he sailed across seas, he saw empires, he entered palaces, he touched distant worlds. But what truly made him unique was not where he went. It was leaving the world he saw, to humanity. Within his pages, there were not only roads, there were people, there were cultures, there were lives. Even today, centuries later, we can still see the world through his eyes. Because some people travel, others carry the world beyond time. Some look at maps, others have their names written upon them. And Ibn Battuta inscribed his name not only on maps, but upon history itself.